Yeah. Before Holly gets started, so this cherry tree clearly was here. It's been here quite a while. And when we came onto this property, the cherry tree is here. When you take a look at it, and I'm sure Holly will say something about this. Obviously, if this tree, if we were around 15 years ago, whatever, when it was planted, we would have pruned it up a little bit along the way. But like if you buy a new house, new property, you might inherit a tree like this that should have been pruned up years ago. Things done to it, just never were, and now you're stuck with kind of a more mature tree that you're looking at.
And you can see if we were what we were talking about. If I have to prune this all the time to keep it off of the wall, it should have gone farther that way. It's hard to plant something and visualize what it's going to look like, and sometimes I can't afford to buy huge plants, huge trees. I buy the smaller ones and they look like a little plop in there, but you know what? I'm an optimistic gardener. So there we go. Okay, pruning tools. I brought some of these of mine, which are good or not good to have. The handouts that I gave you.
And everybody has one, right? I can pass out. Okay.
Let me get mine so we can talk a little
here,
bit
Allie,
about.
do you want one right here? I got it right here.
Okay, we'll give it to me there.
Right here. Here you go.
Yep. All right, let's look at the first page, the rejuvenation and renewal. This is a handout that I use when that's the only subject I'm talking on. I've done this for, this is great. If any of you are going to be interested in speaking, this is a great thing for garden clubs. You don't usually have PowerPoints and all that sort of stuff, but you can certainly stand up and talk about this. That gives you a lot of information about pruning shrubs and rejuvenation and renewal. And this is the time to do rejuvenation pruning if you're going to do it in the wintertime. I did have a question about, aren't you encouraging the plant to send out leaves? You would be if this was the 1st of April, the middle of March even. And that's why February is my favorite month, because February is a very good time and you probably won't do it. I did look over here. You may get these questions. What happened to this? Why does that look like that? Why is it dying? It sent out new leaves. We got that cold night, and that's what happened to it. And you're probably going to hear a lot of this. So sometimes the plants don't have a calendar, and a nice warm day comes along, and they think, oh well, it is spring. We'll get out here and we'll do something. But they're wrong. Yes.
So like last spring, we had a real late frost, and a lot of our shrubbery got frosted because when we did here. Should we take it off? I mean,
It will eventually fall off. If you want to meticulously go through and take off this would be a job.
Right.
To just take those off. These are eventually going to turn brown and fall off.
And they'll just fall off.
And they'll just fall off. So I would not bother with them unless you're like me and you love pruning. So sometimes I get a little carried away. All right, let's talk about the tree. You all can get your tree and we'll talk about identifying these parts. Y'all just had your class on the buds, terminal buds. You know where those are? Okay. On there. Every tree, and we won't see it on these, but we will on the new ones when we go out, have a leader. I don't know if y'all talked about that today. There is one person up here that's the leader of the pack, and every good tree, when it is planted and started up, needs a good leader. And when we get to the new ones over there, I'm going to talk a lot more about leaders, because this one's mature. Once they get mature, they're going to round off in the top, unless it happens to be a tree that forms a conical shape. It's going to round off in the tops, but we will talk some more about that. Sometimes they have double leaders, and we will do that over there also. There are not many water sprouts on this one, but that over there. But the main purpose of pruning on anything is to open up the middle. You want to have some sun that gets down in. If I'm going to be pruning on this shrub here, I'm going to want to take the majority of my things out of the middle because I want the sun to get down inside. If sun doesn't get to it, it's going to die. You're going to have scraggly stuff.
Most of you guys probably know if you have abelias in your yard, they get those big woody growth stems in the middle. If you really want them to look nice, you got to go way down there and cut out that woody middle and open it up.
Okay, on the inside here, what you need to start with when you're doing pruning is, I say 4 Ds, but the books say 3 Ds or 4 Ds. The dead, diseased, dying, and the other one is dangerous. If you have a dead limb in a tree that's hanging over your walkway, that's a dangerous one, and that needs to come out. All 4 of those things, there is no time on when you should do it. Whenever you see it, take it out. Those 4 things. And that's what you start with when you start pruning, is you take out first all of the dead, diseased, dying, and dangerous that are there. After you do that, pruning is a cross between an art and a science. You have to know the scientific part of it, but you also have to know the aesthetics of it. You have to get used to what's going to look good and what's not going to look good, and sometimes you have to make choices. And it's wonderful if you have a friend that you can prune with, because y'all can vote. Which one do you think we should take out, this one or this one? So I work in my church garden for years and had a friend, and that's what we would do. We would sit and she'd say, which one? And I'd say, this one? And she'd say, yeah, that's the one we need to take out. So that's a fun thing to take part of. So to start with on these, we need to get all of this stuff, the inside in here. You do not want limbs to cross. Crossing limbs that run, I think there's a picture of a crossing limb down there, crossover branch, rub against each other wherever there's a wound. That's where an insect is going to say, yummy, yummy, here I come. Gives them a place to enter the plant. So that's another reason we keep the center of the tree free from smaller branches. Look at these in here. All of these. At one point, they're going to grow out here and be rubbing up against something. So these are some that we need to cut off. Where do you cut them? Well, this has got a bunch to cut. See this one? Y'all see this one? See, you cut it. They're all, at one point, are going to do this. This is going to grow right up there, and it's better to cut them while they're small. That one's even dead. I could cut that for my dead and disease. Sometimes you can't tell which one's dead and which one's not. You have to wait until spring for those. But
I'll clean up. Just drop anything. How about get this later?
Oh, yeah, you can come to my house. All right. Now, where to cut to? See this one? You need to cut back to something. If you don't remember anything about this demonstration today, remember you need to cut back to something. This was not cut back to something. If you do not cut back to something, this is a great example. See this? Can you see this? See this? They didn't go all the way back to the bud that was going to come out. So what's this going to do? What is it? Has it done? It's dead.
It's also a path for it. Insects, disease, everything else.
Right. And you can see I cut it off instead it's doing it. Here, another one. You can't, let me be real honest about this. You cannot always tell this time of the year, if I wanted to reduce this limb right here, I might not be able to find a bud. I can see one right there now. But chances are, if I'm in a hurry, I'm not always going to find it, and I may have. Now this will branch out. I don't want that one there anyway, but that's just to show off. That one will branch out because it's two buds here. You can control which way it goes by picking which buds you cut to. Okay? This one has just one bud, and whichever way that bud is facing is the way that limb is going to go. So when I'm pruning back to something, or back to nothing here, I want to prune to the way I want it to do. If I'm going to reduce this, can y'all see that? Am I showing and y'all can't see? This one right here, that one is going to go that way. This is going to come this way, and I don't want them going into the tree. So those can come. Here's one here that is a rubbing one, and this has to come all the way off. It's already there. It's already doing what it shouldn't be, leaning up against that. So I'm going to cut to something. There's no need in me trying to reduce it. It's still going to always touch this. So I'm going to go all the way back to here. All right, what do you know about branch collars? Can everybody find a branch collar? If you're not going to do the pruning too, maybe you're not ever going to prune a tree. Maybe you're going to hire somebody to prune your trees. And at some point you will have to hire people, or an arborist. There's some trees we can't prune. You know, you can't climb up there and prune that. You're going to have to hire somebody. But you should impress upon anybody that you talk to that they should know what it's supposed to look like. What it's supposed to look like. I have a nice young fellow who comes and does an arborist who does the pruning of our trees. And the first time he came, I went out and chatted with him and introduced myself to him. And I said, and you know what? I know where a branch collar is. Well, I got a wonderful job done on my tree, because he knew that I knew something about what he was doing. So even if you don't do it yourself, know if they're doing a good job or not doing a good job. That goes for the county that comes and does your stuff around here too, Barry. They're not always correct on some of the things that they do. So keep an eye on them. All right, let's talk about a branch collar. Let me find a good example. Can you all see this? Yep. Okay. If I were going to take out this limb, I would cut it back to the branch collar. The collar has specialized, I don't know if y'all talked about this today in botany, okay. It has a special type of cell that is going to, turn around and look at the tree behind you. Now, a couple of those were done fairly well. You see where they're trying to close up? Can you see the others that were not cut all the way back to the branch collar? And they are struggling to try to cover up. We no longer use any kind of paint or anything. No. That was given up years ago to paint them, because the tree is designed to cover itself, and so you don't have to do that. All you have to do is cut it in the right place for it to do that. If I were to cut this all the way back to here, I have cut the branch collar off. There's going to be more. Can y'all see that? Y'all come up and look at it if you want to.
I think it's real. This shows it real well.
Oh, good. Okay.
A little collar. You can see
Right. It's pushing it up there. And this is designed to cover over that. Now, if I were going to cut this big one off, I would not start off cutting it here. I would cut it here to get the weight off of it, and then I would come back and make a second cut here. Let me tell you, this is not the simplest thing you've ever done. This was not cut all the way back. This was not cut all the way back. Where's my saw? She go get that.
You don't want to cut the branch collar, right?
Right.
No. No, you
Let's
want,
give
that's
it a
where
bel-
the stem cells are, which are just like the stem cells, like in embryonic stem cells. Then
Right,
it'll
come on,
produce
see, if you
whatever
come closer,
cells it needs.
Come
All right.
closer, you can see this.
This has not
the
been
collar.
cut back far enough. You can see it's dead. It's never going to form anything to cover it. So I'm going to cut it closer. Now this takes practice. You're not going to hit it right every time. I've got some that I have done terrible with. Okay?
Awesome.
Now,
Yeah.
it's going to start forming the branch collar is going to start forming a callus around that. I'm not sure I can get to that one. That's going to be, but look at the little hole in there. There's somebody already in there wanting to live. Some of them are hard to get to. I mean, that's all there is to it. They're hard to get to. So you can't do that. All right, let's look up in the tree while y'all are up here under it with me. You see all the branches that are in here? This needs thinning badly. I'll show you my other tool over there.
I have a question. You were talking about when you trim or revitalize. I've always heard to take from below the stem. I mean, from the branch below, not on top.
Well,
If it's crossing, you want to take it off.
Yeah, but I'm
Right.
saying, like for
The one-
this, if I was gonna work on this to lighten it up, I'd take this.
right, and lightening it up makes a lot of difference too on a lot of things. Sometimes you can reduce the branch and do it. Now look what a mess this is.
Now, I would probably take this off,
Yeah,
and I probably, this would definitely go.
yeah.
But
To be real honest,
cut it off.
cherry trees are not the easiest trees to prune. Cherry trees are not my favorite tree.
They're very
But
diseasy.
they like to grow. Look how they like to grow. They like to grow long arms, and then they like to fill it in with all of this. Well, if you take all of this off, then all you've got is a long arm with a puff on the bottom of it. Now, when you start talking about removing whether after something blooms, I am taking off a lot of the blooms that are on this tree. I take off a lot of blooms on a lot of the trees that I have. Oh, you didn't get back to something. Let me do. Oh, you did. You got it. Let me get this one.
Yes,
over
ma'am.
here.
I can't.
Don't put
I
your
need to
finger-
tie my hands behind
Don't
me.
put your finger in there. See, that's not quite close enough. Should come back and do a little better job than that.
Can you demonstrate a real world problem?
So,
So,
right,
so this,
All right,
this branch that we didn't want to try to keep away from this building, and this, as Sally said, it would have been better if this tree got planted a little farther back, but we have what we got.
Right.
So, if she doesn't cut one of these branches back, I'm gonna come back.
Well, wouldn't you take it back to here?
You take that one back?
Well, I'm gonna ask her what she would do.
You can reduce. You can do reduction cuts, and a reduction cut has already been done up there. This limb was a little bit too big by the time the reduction cut was taken. Do you see that?
Yeah, I do.
There's a fine line between when you can bring it back and when you can't. Okay, give me my other things over here.
For loppers.
Okay, my favorite. The only one I can honestly handle much anymore. Every time I do a pruning demonstration, I sell 50 of these, and I should get a thing from it. All right, now I should get a commission. You're absolutely right, but I don't. All right,
I see where it will go.
you see this right here?
Yeah.
See these? This is a much better proportional to that one than this one down here was. This one.
Uh-huh.
See how big that is
Yeah.
and how small this is? All right. So, Barry, I'm gonna make you happy, buddy.
And this is where you're taking it from below as well.
That's called a reduction cut.
Yeah. Okay.
And I did come back to something, but not all the way back to the tree, and I didn't have to. But the trick here is to get it early, to get it when the proportion of the little bitty limb is closer to the proportion of that one up there. See this right here?
That's nasty.
Yes. I would take this whole limb off, back to the tree,
back to
back
here.
all the way back to
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. That looks mangled.
Right.
This whole thing?
Sometime too, yes. Sometime too, if you're in here, now see, here's one that's getting ready to go over to the,
To cross.
well, it's getting ready to hit the wall. I'm not as strong as I used to, and my children hid my ladder, so I'm pretty much at a loss. So
Do you agree that this should come back all the way to the collar?
I think that should come all the way back.
Give me those loppers.
Okay. So.
No, you can't use my loppers to do that. You got to use a saw.
All right. Yeah,
So on the one that you're working on, there's one straight one, and then there's one that goes off to on my side. It goes off to the right, and it's it comes
looking at
down
this?
closer to the main part. Keep coming towards me. A little bit more,
I'll
right
look.
there.
Yes.
Wouldn't you cut there?
You could cut there. You still want to try to keep a tree balanced.
Right. Right.
If you end up, and this is very difficult to do when a tree is planted with one side in full sun, especially your evergreens, and you hope nobody goes around to the back and sees it because it's skimpy, because it doesn't get enough sun. So it's a tight thing to do to try to tell between, those kinds of things.
Right.
There's so much growing over there. I would probably try to keep, if I could. Let's see, this one could come off.
What I would end up doing is circling the tree like myself, just to look at it from all different points of view.
Yes, and you do. You need to step back. That's when I usually fall. It's when I'm backing up to look at it. So you do need to back up, take a look at it. What does need to come off? What doesn't need to come off? Speaking of how much to take off, you should never take off more than a third of a tree at a time, because you will stress it too much by taking too much stuff out. Also, I've seen trees that you could tell they were pruned. I would prefer you not know I was there. I would prefer to do it a little at a time, do this and that, and you say, oh, what a beautiful shape that is. The other thing I'm probably ruining for you all, because now when you go to a friend's garden and you look at their beautiful trees, the only thing you're going to think about is, it doesn't have a leader. That tree needs a leader. Or look at all that stuff inside that needs to come out of there. So, but this is making it healthy. Will I make you happy if I cut that one off for you, Barry?
Which one?
That one.
Yeah. If you don't do it, yeah. Use a little limb saw, right? There's your limb saw.
There's my limb saw.
Yeah.
Oh, it's 30 minutes. Oh, yeah. I gotta go quick. I do tend to
So
tell
you need to do a little.
too much. All right, I am going to.
Study that collar because it's a little.
It is tricky. It's a tricky collar. Is this the one we decided? Okay, I'm going to start here.
This one's gonna be skippy.
Okay. Whoop. And I'm going to help you just support the weight when it comes crashing down. Okay. Wow. Have a good tour. That's all I've got to say. Limbs this size are better done with a saw than they are with loppers. If you start using your loppers to cut huge limbs, you're going to ruin them. So use the proper tool to it. Dr. Fair, who does a lot of the woody ornamental classes, is in favor of the saw for sure. So I'm going.
Just a Home Depot, or
I think I ordered this online.
It's a limb saw. You can find it as a limb saw.
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to say is that she took off the limbs and left that so that the weight of the limb wouldn't tear the bark.
Applause, please.
That was a nice cut. Oh my God, that's a good cut.
All right, now we're going to come back in two years and see how it looks. If it looks like a belly button, we're in good shape. So.
Beautiful.
All right. So that's 3/4 of the job too, is having sharp tools. This is a good one. After I saw one of us, my fourth, looking at Dr. Fair's classes, and she was talking about tools, and this was one that she did suggest.
What is it? What kind is it? Oh, now you want me to look without my glasses?
Yeah.
Gone boy?
Where do you
Gone
take
boy.
that to get it sharpened? How do you keep it
I
sharp?
do not sharpen blades.
Fine.
I don't get blades for. I replace them.
Okay.
These. I have replaced the ones on my pole prunes back there many times. To get your loppers and your Renfros. And Renfros is coming to speak to you all.
Oh, so
So you can ask them. They bring them in one day. Don't take them in February because you can need them. You can take them another time, and Renfros does sharpen them and does a wonderful job of it. So I also invest greatly in my pan pruners because they come in sizes, and this is for a small hand, and I do have a small hand, so that's why I got this one. All right, Barry, they told me I've already spent 30 minutes doing this.
Do you want to go over?
I do want to.
All right.
I do want to go over there. Anybody who is come now, this is I would do this. I would take. Let me fall. My children.
Okay, I can help you pack these tools away later, so don't worry.
Oh, I'm gonna take them with me. I'm gonna take them with me. I'm gonna do a few more little things right here.
Okay.
Before I go.
can't walk away.
I know. The pole pruner that I bought is an old one, my very first one. I took it has a part that will cut. I took that off because I could no longer lift it. I have another one at home that I use, and I get my children and grandchildren to help me with because I can't lift them anymore. But that's a good idea with this. That's a new blade that I bought to go on that I've used. If you want to hold up that one, it's adjustable. You can reach up with it. This one's light enough for me to be able to handle. Can get a fairly good distance up there with them. This, I also replaced the blades for this. I don't mess with sharpening these. But this I came upon by accident, and it's wonderful. It is. I